Here are 5 things that it's truly okay to have, be, and do. Hello everybody and welcome back to the Behind HB podcast. Hi, hello. My name is Brooke, also known as Honeybrooke, and I am your host. Welcome to episode 4 of season 2. This one, honestly, I was feeling kind of uninspired and I didn't really know what to do this episode on because I feel like the first 3 episodes came so easy and I was like, yes, I really want to talk about these topics. But then right as I finished the sentence where I don't know what to do for this week's episode, the idea came to me. Actually, 3 ideas came to me and immediately I got so inspired and wrote all of them down. I don't know if anybody can relate to that, but this week's episode is basically just talking about 5 things that it's truly okay. Where a lot of things it's kind of a range, and I feel like this week's episode might be a little bit confusing, but I'm really hoping this comes across as things you need to hear or reminders rather than a message, an inspiring message in a way. I mean, I hope it's inspiring, but I mean, this is more of a friendly, helpful reminder that it's okay to either have these things, do these things, or be these things. But before we get started, I wanted to give a little shout out to the It Starts With You journal. I feel like I have to talk about this in every podcast episode since the main inspiration for this journal, which if you're listening on audio, basically I wrote this journal and it's also it's a self-help book, but also mainly a journal, and it has journaling prompts in here, shadow work, inspiring readings, moments from the Behind HB podcast, and even coloring pages. So you can find it on Amazon. It is linked in the description in my HB library. And yeah, I mean, even in the back, let me see if I can find it. There is podcast episode notes, which I just think is so on brand for me. Don't mind that I'm using my burnt copy that they sent me. What is that about? Sorry, just hit the mic. What is that about, Amazon? But I promise, at least I hope, that your copy doesn't come burned just like mine. But you know what, I'm so proud of this book, and this may be one of my favorite ones. I'm an indie author, so I'm not, I do everything myself, and I'm obviously not to perfection status yet, but this book definitely, I feel is pretty close to perfection status, at least in my eyes. So now that that's out of the way, let's move on to our first little helpful reminder that it's okay. So number 1, I feel is a little bit cliche, and it's also the perfect place to start. And number 1 is it's okay not to be okay. Honestly, you are allowed to have feelings, and your feelings are valid. You don't always have to be so brave all the time. So if you're feeling down, it is okay to it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel down. Acknowledge your feelings. Don't try and suppress it, because if anything, that does more damage. Which, saying this reminded me of a concept that I came up with in the journal. And if you're watching for the first time, I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep self-promoting, but there's a concept in here that I don't think I came up with it because it's way too good, and I'm sure I heard it somewhere else, but it's called acknowledging the shadow. And it's basically whenever you're feeling down or just have a negative emotion that you're experiencing, you instead of just staying in that emotion or trying to suppress that emotion, you acknowledge it. And you basically the prompt in here, let me just pull one up. If you're watching visually, I'll put the page up on the screen for you to see, but basically it's you date it, you write what shadow is present, how am I feeling right now, and you circle as many as you want to, as many as you're feeling, or if none of them are listed, you can write your own. And then what do I need to release? Just kind of a short blurb of what's going on, or what do I need to release, right? And then the most important part of this is setting the intention for moving forward, because at that point you've release the shadow and you're stepping out of that back into the sunlight, if you will, and you're moving forward, and most importantly, setting the intention. But if you are taking notes, and you know me, I like to keep things simple. Basically, what I want you to take away from number 1 is it's okay not to be okay. Sorry, I just looked back at my notes and I'm gonna sound like such a hypocrite right now. But number 2 is it's okay to have boundaries, and I am giving another self promo because you'll never guess, in the It Starts With You journal there is an entire chapter on boundaries and kind of just like I'm not the best with boundaries, so when I wrote that chapter I definitely like took everything I was writing and took it into my own, like, I need to hear this as well, as maybe this can help other people, right? So writing that chapter was definitely a big thing because I put a lot of thought into it because I'm not the best with boundaries, right? Because I always feel like it's rude to have boundaries in a sense, but that is not the case. It's part of your self-worth, self-respect to have boundaries. So with that being said, it's okay to have boundaries. As long as I don't know, I'll leave that up to you, because setting boundaries and having boundaries is like a huge thing. And it's definitely like some people might be more set in their ways than others. If you're following what I'm saying, some people might be more lenient towards their boundaries and they might give you a couple chances before they say something. But with that being said, it's okay to have boundaries. It's not a crime. If anything, it just protects your heart more. Okay, number 3 is a pretty big one, and I feel like next week I want to touch more on it, because next week's episode is going to be 5 things I wish I knew sooner, and one of them is the importance of friendship. And that was inspired by a whole video when I was doing my research and stuff. And so I really think I don't know if I'm going to talk about it in this video in detail, but there is some things that I want to point out. The main thing being, it's okay to not have a huge circle of friends, and it's okay to just do you. I feel like number 3 and 4 kind of go together, because number 4 is it's okay to want to be alone. It's okay to want to have that alone time. But with number 3, think of it this way. Having a lot of friends can be great, but at the same time, not all of those friends are going to be genuine friends. And I hate to say it, because we all want to assume the best in people, but you have to assume the best with people. That's just me. I believe people are going to show their true colors eventually, but some will take longer than others. But just know it's okay to not have a huge circle of friends. And having what I'm trying to say is, sometimes when you have more friends, that leads to more nonsense that you don't need in your life. Even if you're a bystander, you're still kind of involved because you're hearing about it. And don't get me wrong, I feel like everybody likes a little bit of drama in their life, especially when it doesn't directly affect them. But I would say just be careful. Again, protect your heart, because some of the people you think are true friends, they might stab you in the back and you won't even see it coming. And who knows what the situation is, right? But all I'm saying is, don't feel the need you see on social media, and just if you are still in grade school, even in college too, people having these massive groups of friends, I can guarantee you they have more drama than your little group of 2 or 3 other people, right? So it's a good thing to keep in mind that if you're ever feeling down about not being the most fun group or popular, it's okay. It is okay. It is completely okay to not have a huge group of friends, and essentially just seeing the importance of genuine friendship, because it is very hard to find. Number 4, I feel like I don't really have to go into too much detail. I already told you that it's okay to want to be alone. It's okay to want to have your alone time, because honestly, you have to recharge that social battery. Even if you do hang out with people, or you're surrounding yourself with people, that your social battery doesn't die, it's okay to have by yourself time, or just want to be alone. You shouldn't feel bad, especially like if you're really not feeling it and somebody's asking you to go out. I feel like you're just gonna drain yourself even more, rather than just saying, you know what, like, I'm not really feeling it tonight, or better yet, just make up an excuse. We all do it because it's sometimes the truth can be a little bit too blunt and too rude than we want, and there's nothing wrong with that. Again, bonus, honorable mention, it's okay to make up an excuse in order to remain polite. I don't know, that's just me, call me fake, I don't know. I mean, we all do it if you want to admit it or not, but yeah, it's okay to want to be alone. Wow, I feel like these last three kind of like all grouped together. I didn't even plan for that to happen. But number 5 is it's okay to blossom. You shouldn't have to feel guilty about outgrowing certain things. You shouldn't have to feel guilty about outgrowing friends, especially like when they don't serve you anymore. If they're just like, if things are bringing just constant like negativity into your life and just you don't feel certain joy towards certain things anymore, you've probably outgrown it, and there's no reason, I mean, again, easier said than done, but there's no reason to feel guilty about getting rid of those things, because once you get rid of those things, then like new blessings are gonna form, and like new things that you can't even imagine, like, because they're so good, those are gonna come into your life, and that all happens when you blossom and grow. One of the hardest things could be saying goodbye to something that you've been loyal to for so long, whether that be a job or a group of friends or just even somewhere that you're living. Honestly, growing and blossoming is a part of life, and again I say it is easier said than done to just completely cut off and get rid of these things, especially when you've been loyal to them for so long. But at the same time, like, how are you going to grow if you don't face the hardships? Because in reality, I feel like, okay, hold on, I'm gonna get ahead of myself, but let me say this first. I feel like the universe, God, they have like things planned out for you, right? Whatever you believe. But honestly, when you outgrow something, and it will be obvious, like you will know when you are outgrowing something, that is the easiest time to cut it off and leave and get out. Because then, like, sometimes if you try and take situations in your own control, you end up repeating that like karmic cycle, or that you end up repeating that lesson. And it just, honestly, sometimes it's better to put like all your trust into the atmosphere, into the universe, and just let it play out and take care of itself. Because sometimes we tend to take control of things, or feel the need to take control of things, but that could end up being harmful, which I know it sounds crazy, but I have lived through so many experiences where I'm like, I genuinely don't know how to take care of this myself, or solve this, or get out of this situation myself, and I know that this is probably like a long-term thing, and so I do my best to let go of it and know that whatever happens, and I mean, I know that this is just a lesson that I'm learning, and that something a lot better is coming. And I feel like once you get into that mindset, I swear I say this in every episode, once you get into that mindset, it's really hard to go back, and really you just start putting all of your trust into things will work out as they should. And really, I mean, if you believe it, then like there's no going back there, because then things like will just start removing themselves by themselves, and you don't really need to do anything, and that you won when that starts happening. I feel like I did end up getting a little bit ahead of myself there, but I got my message across. Basically what I was trying to say is take a step back, let the atmosphere, the higher powers, if you will, handle it, and just watch what happens. I feel like once you get into that mindset of everything always works out for me, eventually, like, everything always works out in my favor, blah blah blah, that is the ultimate cheat code to life. But you didn't hear it from me. And that, my friends, is going to bring us to the end of episode 4 of the Behind HB podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. I felt like I was making sense. I was trying to make the most sense. If I didn't make sense, I'm very sorry. Maybe one day I'll do a part 2 correcting myself. Also, if you if you made it to the end, first of all, I appreciate you a ton, but I started it's not up and running yet, but I'm just going to talk about it because it will be up and running very soon. The channel is created, but there's no videos up yet, but it's basically like the Behind HB podcast clips. I created a channel for that, and then over on my TikTok too, I post like usually just a short condensed version of like the weekly episode. So if you're just into the nitty gritty and just if you want to take notes or even go back just as a refresher, I post like the highlights of all the message in like a condensed video on my TikTok. And now I'm starting a clips channel page where basically just I go through, screen record, take the best of the best and post it there. So if that works better for you, either way, I support you being here, no matter if it's you watching the full entire podcast episode or even just the clips. I appreciate it, and thank you so much. With that being said, make sure to like, make sure to comment, make sure to subscribe or follow wherever you're watching. I must say I am no longer continuing on SoundCloud. All of season 1 and half of season 2 are on SoundCloud, but just now that I'm on Spotify, I'm too good for SoundCloud. No, I'm just kidding. But it is getting, like, SoundCloud is expensive. And at least for right now, I feel like, again, SoundCloud is not really serving me. And now that I'm on Spotify, it is just so much more convenient, so much better. So, the episodes that are there will still remain on SoundCloud, but from here on out, everything will either be on YouTube or Spotify. So wherever you're watching, thank you so much. And yeah, I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.